Yes,
you know,
we do.
and like I say, I was dismayed to find that there are other things, but I am so glad that I was invited to come and talk. And I'm going to do my best to increase awareness in the community of this, because it seems like it obviously needs some more awareness. So I don't know what your organizational thing is. Do you have business you need to conduct before I start to babble?
No,
Okay.
take off.
Okay, so let me tell you a few little things, first of all, about myself. One is that all my colleagues and friends tell me that I'm in love with the sound of my own voice, and I can't deny it. I adore the thing. So I will sit here and babble until somebody tells me to shut up. I really need you all to help me keep this under control. So please feel free to interrupt me, to ask questions, to provide answers, anything like that. I really feel that in situations like this, we all learn from one another. So please feel free to say, hey. The other thing about me is that I have this philosophy that if you have a bad joke inside you, you can't let it stay there, because it'll fester, pop out at the wrong time, and you'll end up ruining somebody's wedding. So I learned that the hard way. So I'm going to be telling bad jokes, and you know, I'm happy to take groans, pity laughter. I'm pretty good at dodging thrown objects, so there you are. Because I am ignorant of what's going on with you folks, if I say something that bothers you, that is offensive or something, please tell me, because the last thing I want to do is offend anybody. Currently, my big mission in life is to keep folks my age and older from falling down. So that's my only agenda. So again, if I'm saying something that seems insensitive or something like that, please educate me. Okay. Normally I start by talking about PCOA, the Pima Council on Aging. Has anybody here used any of our services? Anybody here know about us? Oh, good. I'm glad. We are not part of Pima County government. We are a non-governmental, there's somebody else coming, non-governmental, non-profit organization. We are what's called an Area Agency on Aging, or AAA. We're not going to sell you auto insurance, John. We're just not. Charlie, I don't have a roadmap for you, but we are the AAA. That was another bad joke. We were chartered by the Older Americans Act. And what we do is, it is our purpose to take any resources we gather. We get federal funds, state funds, county, city funds, we get donations, and then we take those resources and we channel them out to the older community here in Pima County. There are 8 AAAs in the state. We're the one that covers Pima County. We have all sorts of support, and the vast majority of our programming is absolutely free. If you have a caregiver, or you are a caregiver, or you know a caregiver, give us a call. We have absolutely stellar caregiver support. We work with Pima Care, we work with other organizations to do caregiver workshops. We have caregiver resources. We can even help you arrange things like respite care. So, you know, if you have caregiver issues, please let us know. We have really excellent Medicare support. So if you have questions or problems with Medicare, please contact us. We do advocacy, not just for Medicare, but for all sorts of issues, including things like housing and those sort of things. We even have veterinary services. And We will help with taxes. Now, Mieko, we're not going to pay your taxes, but we will help you fill them out. We do some legal services. If you're talking to a doctor and he or she fills your head with a bunch of gobbledygook that you don't understand, give us a call. We translate it. So basically, if it's an issue having to do with aging, we deal with it. And if we don't deal with it directly, we know who does. So we are here for you, and our whole mission is to do exactly that, to help older residents of Pima County. And we don't care about anything like race, gender, preference, any of that stuff. Just give us a call. I'm part of the Healthy Living group at PCOA. We do classes to help folks live better and longer. Now, I handed out a number of things, and if somebody didn't get them, I got plenty, so we'll get them. One of the first ones I want to bring up to you, we have a program, Healthy Living with Chronic Pain. And while thankfully I don't suffer from chronic pain, I'm an old wood knocker. My mom taught me that. I have talked to people who have taken this class. And I think it's a 6-week class, once a week. And they say it really, really helps. Now, this one is for a class we're having up at St. Mark's United Methodist Church at McGee and La Canada, but we actually have them all over the county. So if this is something you think you would like, please give us a call. And in fact, if you can get 12 people together, that would all be interested, we would probably even arrange a special class. So, please give us a call for that. We also have classes in managing your diabetes, which is a big concern of mine, and it's an excellent class about how to deal with diabetes, diet choices, lifestyle choices, those kind of things. I have spoken to people who, when they first took that class, were pre-diabetic and now aren't. That, following their recommendations, actually turned it around. We also have a chronic disease self-management course. Again, really an excellent course, so give us a call. My program is called A Matter of Balance, and it is a fall prevention course. It is 4 weeks long, twice a week, for 2 hours each. A lot of people come to it thinking that it's an exercise course, and it's not. We are, in fact, the standard of care nationally for what they call cognitive fall prevention. And what that basically means is that not only do we talk about the physical aspects, but we talk about all the things having to do with falls. And it turns out that your balance touches almost every aspect of your life, okay? So we talk about all of that. And in fact, this very much reminds me of one of my courses, because for the most part, what we do is we sit around a big table and we talk to one another about what our concerns are, how we deal with them, what kind of resources there are. And we talk, again, on all aspects. And I'll kind of briefly go through them each. But we do that. That's A Matter of Balance. It is a nationwide program. We are in, I think, 42 states now, plus the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, which is where I want them to send me to coach, but they won't. They keep telling me it's not part of Pima County, and I keep saying they're drawing the map wrong. But anyway, and it is an evidence-based program. All of our programs are evidence-based. And what that means is that people, lots of people, have done lots of research into why folks fall. And then they developed this program to help prevent those falls. and we are constantly updating it. We are constantly collecting new information. It is, I am biased, of course, but it is a very effective program. And so if you have concerns about falls, please join us. My job is to cover the county with that program. And, excuse me. Okay. I offer between 24 and 26 classes a year, of which 19 classes usually make. I have to have a minimum of 8 people, so otherwise we just can't afford it. So there you are. And generally, any place anyone can get between 8 and 15 people together, I'll figure out how to have a class. I need a room that folks can sit around and maybe move around a little bit, but so if in fact you think, oh, thank you. I have my breakfast here, but it doesn't seem to want to go down. Thank you very much. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Anyway, so
How much cost?
thank you. We ask for a $20 donation for individuals, or $30 for couples. And a couple is you and your spouse, or your caregiver, or a family member, or you two could say, hey, we're a couple, and bingo, there you are. We don't really screen people for it. So anyway, that's what it is. And for some folks, that's a fair amount of money, but you get a lot out of it.
That's pretty reasonable.
And it's just $20. It's not $20 for each session. So, and you get a workbook, you get all sorts of handouts, and all sorts of little bits of tchotchke like this. For those of you that are wondering, this is a nightlight. The good people at TEP, and I know they're not the most popular company in the world, but to me they've been a good corporate neighbor, and they called us up one day and said, we'd like to help you out, and we'd like it to be about fall prevention, so what can we do? And we said, well, we need nightlights, and so they gave us these. Anyway, that's kind of my program, but I'm actually here to talk about fall prevention, and I'll keep referring to it. Once again, if you have a question or a comment, please let me know. So they did a lot of work on what causes falls. Does anybody here want to hazard a guess about, hi there, about what the root cause of most falls among folks our age is?
Inattention.
Inattention, that's a good one.
Tripping.
Tripping, yeah. Tripping.
Being in a hurry.
You're being in a hurry. Oh, that's a huge one.
Not having your house fall-proof.
Right, having environmental hazards. Yes, all of those are true, and they're good answers. But it turns out that what they found was that the root cause of most falls is fear. Fear. Yeah.
That's me.
F-E-A-R, fear of falling. The way this works, and we actually have a fancy name for it, we call it the fall cycle, is that you become concerned about your balance, about falling. Maybe you've taken a fall. Maybe you've noted, maybe you have a friend who has fallen, and it's pretty serious. Maybe a big mouth like me shows up at your organization and tells you that falls are the leading cause of accidental death among older Americans, more than twice the next two categories put together. Okay? It's a big deal. It's a big deal, and it's about 10 years ago people really started noticing that. It turns out that falls are the leading cause of emergency room admissions for injury in the entire nation, for everybody, not just older folks. The only group that doesn't fall into that is that teenage driving group, right? And then for them it's being hit in the head with a thrown object, bad driving, and then falls. I figured they're driving along, get hit in the head with a frisbee, crash their car, get out and fall down. So So this is a big deal. This is like an $86 billion a year problem. So I'll have some more scary statistics, but I like to let the suspense build. Okay, so fear. We become concerned. This causes us to limit our activities, okay? It's a little blustery outside, and I'd really like to go shopping, but I don't know if I want to get out in all that wind and all that kind of stuff. That's a very common thing that I hear. It can be very subtle. You just suddenly notice you're not seeing your friends anymore, or as much. You're not getting out as much. You can't remember the last time you went to a movie. Well, okay, often this is about fear. So this limiting of our activities causes us to get into worse shape. And it's physical shape, obviously. We're not moving around. But also, it's mental, right? I'm not seeing my friends. I'm not getting the support I used to get. It's emotional. I'm not doing things that I enjoy as much anymore. Well, this leads to isolation. We don't see our family. We don't see our friends. We don't get out. We are social animals. And even if we don't participate in the group, every once in a while it's nice to be in a room full of people. And we stop doing that when we become afraid of falling. This inevitably leads to depression. Depression is a huge problem in the United States, and especially among older folks. Depression makes you give up. If anyone here has ever been depressed, you know what I mean. It makes you not want to try. Oh, what's the point? Right?
Yeah.
Well, all of this makes our balance worse. It makes us more wobbly. So we become more concerned. So we limit our activities more. See how this is working? It's like water going down a drain. And eventually a fall becomes inevitable. Maybe the proximal cause of your fall was you caught your toe on the curb, or you slipped on something, or I have a cat whose favorite game is Trip Tom.
No.
Okay, but why weren't you able to catch yourself? Why didn't you notice the cord or the chair or whatever it was you tripped on? Well, it's because of this cycle. Because not only do we become physically weaker, we become less observant, those sort of things. So that's the fall cycle. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Can you feel that in yourselves? Because we're all there somewhere. So there are two primary ways to reverse that cycle and to help ourselves. And the first one is vitally important, and that is stay active. Now that doesn't mean, oh my goodness, I've got to go out and buy a new pair of shoes and start running or walking. No.
Doesn't work for us.
No, and it doesn't work for a lot of people. But any additional activity counts. You know, I'll be sitting in my little study, my man cave at home, working on my computer. I say working. I'm really pretending to take over Asia, or I'm Tom the Magnificent with my sword, one of the two. But anyway, a song comes on that I like. I won't even necessarily get out of the chair, but I'll dance, right? Okay? I'll dance because it gets the blood moving. It gets it gets things moving around. And that's a great form of exercise. There are all sorts of things we can do to do those kind of things. If you're not in a wheelchair, then maybe you could walk a little further with your cane or your walker or whatever, okay? And even if you are in a wheelchair, there's lots of upper body stuff you can do to get your pulse up, to help with muscle tone. What was it that Jim said to me? Preserve it so you can conserve it, right? This is vitally important.
Conserve it to preserve it.
Conserve it to preserve it. This is vitally important. and not just for fall prevention. The number one way to prevent or recover from a heart attack is to be more active. Same thing for a stroke, same thing for diabetes, same thing for just about anything. I don't know if anyone has heard this, but they're now starting to say that sitting is the new smoking. Okay, and what they mean is being inactive, not necessarily just sitting, but what they have found is that people who are active but smoke do better than people who are not active and don't smoke. I can tell you from my own experience, I used to do concerts and special events for the city, and I worked with a lot of very good dancers, ballet, modern dance, all that. 95% of them smoked like chimneys. Okay, but they were all in better shape than me. Being active is so important for your health, regardless of where you are now. And everything counts. And, like the name of our newsletter, it is never too late to start. It really isn't. There have been lots of studies, but recently there's been some very exciting ones about the effect of physical exercise on mental well-being. And they have found that physical activity actually protects the brain from the effects of Alzheimer's and dementia. That people either with those diseases or who are thought to be at risk do much better if they stay physically active, up to their level that they can. Okay, again, nobody here expects you to start lifting weights. Right. Okay, but it'd be great if you move around more. So I mean, some of these studies are really exciting. One of them showed that 1 day of activity helps memory. 1 day. So right away it starts to help, and that's it. But I'm not just talking about physical activity. I'm also talking about mental activity. Folks, your coming here to this is a fall prevention activity. Doing a Sudoku, doing a crossword puzzle is a fall prevention activity because it keeps those wheels turning. Having your friends over for coffee or to play poker and pay your rent, those sort of things. Okay? Fall prevention activity. Stay connected, stay talking to people, because this all helps. Emotionally active. Mickey's doing this organization, Jim being the president. You both have now reduced your risk of falls.
Hot diggity.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. So stay.
And on that note, many more if you need to join the board. No, go on.
Yes,
Hey, that's a good,
that's a good lead.
It's a fall prevention activity.
Exactly.
So stay active. Now, the other way is take your time. It's not a race. You don't have to be the first person to the top of the stairs or the ramp, and you sure don't want to be the first person to the bottom. So slow down, take your time. I've been doing this now for 10 years, and I have heard, I'm sure you can imagine, thousands of fall stories about how people fell. And you know, I still am interested, I still like to hear them. So if you have a story, share it with me, because I'm going to learn. But I can tell you that 95% of them, at least, have to do with take your time. I had a lady in one of my classes, she did real well. She comes into my rec center, and she has this big bruise. And I went, Judy, what'd you do? And she said, well, I was boxing some stuff up. I needed another box, so I tried to jump over this one.
Oh, God.
Never did get the stuff boxed up. But you know, if she'd taken 1 second to step around that box, right? I had another lady that was an avid bird watcher. I guess she still is. And she was out trucking, I just dated myself. Out there, wandering along, and she heard this warble. And she goes, that must be the rare red-headed, copper-breasted Trogon. I have to see it and write it in my book. And so she's walking along looking for this bird. What does she see? The common Arizona brown gopher running for its hole because she landed beside it. Okay, now she was fine, but if she had stopped, looked, walked a little bit, stopped, looked, that gopher would be happier today. So take your time. If there's somebody behind you that really needs to get by, let them go. Those of you in wheelchairs already know this, but yeah, run into them. It's like when you're driving and someone tailgates you, you kind of pull over, let them go. They're happier, you're happier, and then you pull up next to them at the stoplight, right? It's kind of the same thing. It's not a race. Take your time. But when I say take your time, another thing that's important, if you're going to go someplace, especially if it's going to be crowded. I love to go to the book fair at the U of A. Okay, but it's crowded. Get there early. Beat the crowd. Okay, there will be parking. There will be, stuff around that you can do, and you won't have to fight the crowd. If I go to the movies or a play or something, I leave late. If you've been to the movies, at the end of the movie, there's always, one or two couples sitting there staring at the credits, right? That's my wife and I. I don't know what the best boy is so good at, but I know his name, okay? Well, what does this do for me? Well, the lights come back on. The people all leave. Now it's easy for me to get out. And by the time I get to the parking lot, they've all had their fender benders and I don't have to be involved. It is safer. Stay a little late. The other thing that's really important to do is to call ahead. You want to go to Centennial Hall to see Broadway in Tucson. I used to work at Centennial Hall. So I would say, call them. Call them. And say, I'm in a wheelchair or I have some mobility problems. You will be surprised what almost any agency will do to help you come to where they are. You call them ahead. You'll find out that, they have a parking shuttle. You'll find out that they have an entrance that they'll let you in so that you don't have to go up and back down. They have ushers. And any place you call, this is true. If you're going to take a trip, call all those places you want to stay well ahead. One of my coaches will actually call a month or two ahead and say, I've got real mobility issues. I need a floor. I need a room on the ground floor. I need a room with grab bars. Those kind of things. I need a room with wide doors. And again, if you call early and give them a little time, they'll make arrangements for you. At the airport, any of you that fly, especially you folks in chairs, know you can get a wheelchair. And they will push you around and you'll get to be the first aboard and all those kind of things. And I've talked to folks and they actually like doing that. It makes them feel good. Okay? Call ahead. Take the time. The other thing to do is to take the time to plan. Take the time to plan. It may lack spontaneity, but it also lacks an impact with the ground. So, I want to go shopping, but I know that the floors at Fry's or Safeway or Albertsons are kind of slick. Well, I'm going to think about that, and I'm going to say, what can I do to reduce that risk? Okay, I'm going to hang on to the cart. I'm going to wear good shoes. I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to tell someone, I can't get these groceries to my car. Can you help me? Now, of course, you need to be nice. Because if you're mean about it, quite often people just ignore you. Or you get what you want once and then never again. So you need to be nice. We call it assertiveness. And that is could you help me, please? I need help. I was once told by a championship salesman, this man could sell ice to an Eskimo. And I said, so Jack, what's the difference between assertiveness and aggressiveness? And he thought for a second, and he said, humility. Humility.
That's right.
I know what I need, and I'm going to try and get it, but what I need is not necessarily superior to what you need. And so I'm going to be nice. I'm going to ask, and if you can't help me, I'm going to accept that. Okay, and I'm just going to keep going. So we want to be assertive. We want to be willing to ask for help. Now, I'm a male of my generation. I grew up on John Wayne movies, and you know, the Duke never needed help getting through a door, right? And so every once in a while, we get a little proud, and we think, I ought to be able to get through that door, and then we end up laying in front of it, okay? I ought to be able to get up that ramp, and we end up laying at the bottom of it. So we can't let pride keep us from getting what we need and doing what we need. You know, the good book says pride goeth before a fall. Okay?
And how true.
And a lot of people
So
think,
true.
well, okay, they're being symbolic. Someone who's all puffed up is going to get knocked down. That may or may not happen, especially if you're paying any attention to politics. But I'll tell you that pride causes falls, literally falls, because we don't ask for help. Or the one I run into, which I don't see a problem with here, but the one I run into is that people don't want to use their assistive device.
Oh, that's a huge problem with us.
Isn't that? Oh, is it really? Okay, because I see a lot of people with their devices, so I'm like, okay. But,
For us to get tied to use them.
right, because, you know, it's pride. I've had people tell me, you know, I don't like to use a cane because it makes me look so old.
Exactly.
And my answer to that is, guys, the gray hair and wrinkles, dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. The cane has nothing to do with it. Hello? To me, a cane, a wheelchair, a walker, a power chair, these are signs of intelligence. These are tools that you use to do what you want to do. You know, if you saw somebody driving a nail with a hammer, you wouldn't think, oh my God, what a weakling, right? And if he were trying to push it in with his finger, you'd think, oh my God, what an idiot. Use the tools you are given. When I see someone with a cane or a chair or whatever, my first thought is smart person, brave person, because you really do have to take sort of a little hit to your pride. We need to think about what it is we're proud of. It's not getting to the top of the ramp fast. It's getting to the top of the ramp. It's not going to church by yourself and not needing help. It's you made it to church. And that's huge, because there are a lot of people out there that don't. So we need to kind of think a little more about pride. I used my cane to go to the book fair. I had a great time. Be proud of that. So there's that. And again, my course, we talk about this a lot. Now, another big aspect for those of you who still walk and can do that is what I call GAIT, G-A-I-T. Everybody here probably remembers the Carol Burnett show. You remember Tim Conway? Right?
Oh,
Yeah, he was always funny. But I'm willing to bet, yes, the 2,000-year-old man, yeah, that was Mel Brooks, but yeah, that was great. I'm sure you know people that shuffle. They take very small steps, right? Their head is down, they're looking at the ground, shuffling. It's a fall waiting to happen.
And their arms behind their back.